Cole Kmet is not getting traded, everybody.
Yeah, I like to live in reality, Hogue. That's why I enjoy spending my time with you and everybody else around here, and we just dive into the things that matter every single day in regards to Chicago Bears football. Look, there's two things to remember in my mind with Cole Kmet and why Cole Kmet is going nowhere at this particular point in time. Number one, the Chicago Bears need winning players. They need players who do things the right way, who have no drama, who have pride wearing the uniform, who have been productive players in a Bears uniform. They don't have a ton of them. Cole Kmet is one of those players. He is a credit to the organization. He's also on a very, I don't know if you want to call it team-friendly, but just a very fair deal.
A reasonable contract.
Very reasonable contract. That's a good way of putting it. The other thing is, I get it. They drafted Colston Loveland number 10 overall, and let's all hope that Colston Loveland has a great career. But Colston Loveland is a rookie. Colston Loveland is coming off a shoulder injury. You are not punting on your established tight end for a guy who may or may not be ready to play at the start of the season. There's no way you're doing that in year 2 of Caleb Williams. That makes no sense. So there's 2 right there. Also, and then you can throw in number 3 real quickly, which is Ben Johnson's desire, scheme, 2 tight ends, which is why they drafted a tight end, not to replace Cole, but so they could have 2 tight ends. So there's 3 for you off the top.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at reasons for why players get traded this time of year, it's usually because you got a guy who's coming out of contract. Most cap casualties are already taken care of by this time of the year. Now, there are some exceptions to that. And, hey, there are times where you draft a guy and then cut somebody right after the draft. If memory serves, that's what happened when the Bears drafted Tevin Jenkins and they immediately cut Charles Leno. Was that the Tevin Jenkins or was that somebody else that they drafted? But Charles Leno was let go right after they drafted supposedly his replacement. That's not this situation, though. I could see why some people jump to that conclusion when, they drafted Colston Loveland. Well, one, almost 2 months has passed since the draft, and that didn't happen right away. And it didn't happen right away because Ben Johnson wants both players on the team. Ryan Poles wants both players on the team, and the player doesn't want to be traded. So I can see why when you start to, throw darts at the wall and try to connect some dots here that his name comes up because they drafted Colston Loveland. But beyond the injury part of it with Loveland, Ben Johnson wants to run an offense with both of these tight ends. Now, does the drafting of Colston Loveland mean that maybe Cole Kmet in the future ends up somewhere else? Well, maybe. He's already going into year 7.
Nobody is here forever. No one's saying that it's a guarantee that Cole Kmet's going to play 10 years or his entire career in a Bear uniform. Although, who knows? That'd be a Hollywood Chicago Bears story. Local kid plays his entire career here, hopefully wins a Super Bowl here, puts it up big numbers here. Who knows, how this story can end here for Kmet in Chicago. There's one way to dream it up.
Year 7 or year 6? Year 6, right?
He is going into year 6 right now.
Yes, sorry.
That is correct. And his contract is not up for a couple more years. So, look, I just don't get the rush to get rid of good players. I understand it's not super sexy. Cole has an out after 2026, if you want, but he signed all the way through 27. Yep. And the cap hit is the same each year, 11.6.
But it would be why would you make your team worse right now?
You wouldn't.
And the other thing is we've watched a handful of practices. Number 84 has been in 0 of those practices and might not be fully healthy and cleared at the start of training camp. So who have we seen out there running all the reps as the number 1 tight end? Still Cole Kmet. Now, they are slightly different. That is on purpose. So they are not necessarily redundant at the position. That's important because they both fit Ben Johnson's scheme in different ways.
Also, look, Ryan Poles makes these decisions. Ryan Poles is a Cole Kmet fan. Ryan Poles called Cole Kmet after they drafted Colston Loveland. Hey, this is what we're doing. Cole's met with Ben Johnson about this is what they're doing. They've been very transparent about the fact that they want him on, that this has got nothing to do with him not being on the roster. Now, will they lie straight to his face and then trade him 5 days later? I don't think that's how the Bears operate. I don't think that's what they're doing. So I get it. It's the offseason. We're all scuffling for things to talk about with the old Chicago Bears. This show is no different. We don't fall out of bed with 18 things to talk about on Juneteenth. Shout out to everybody out there who's getting the day off today and enjoying themselves. But come on. This is not, and now we're, by the way, getting advantage of this to be able to talk about what you guys are talking about, so thank you for that. Appreciate it. But Cole Kmet's not going anywhere. I'd bet a lot of money on it. A lot of money that I don't have, but I'd bet it.
Yeah, I think it's important to note these rumors are circulating now because Cody Benjamin of CBS Sports, he wrote that Cole Kmet could be a dark horse candidate for the Steelers. He said the Bears all but proclaimed a new face at their tight end position by spending a first-round pick on Colston Loveland this year. And while Kmet still has the benefit of legitimate NFL experience, it's very possible new coach Ben Johnson will lean all the way into Loveland out of the gate. You guys already mentioned the injury. We haven't seen him take full practice reps yet. That's one thing. The other side of this is, this is just a logical trying to connect the dots thing for reporters because the Steelers were looking at Kyle Pitts. Like, we know that. Well, nothing's happened there, so everyone's trying to connect the dots, and they're saying, okay, well, if Kyle Pitts isn't going to be a Steeler, who could be? Oh, the Bears have two really good tight ends. It doesn't always work like that.
Not yet.
Not yet. And like, oh my God, there's so many layers to this. I mean, one is once again, they're gonna play different roles in the offense. So even if that's true, that Ben Johnson decides I'm going all in on Colston Loveland because by September 8th, he's earned that already, then what does that mean? That just means he's playing more snaps than Cole, but they're both going to be playing. They're still going to be playing in the same offense. Not to mention what I just painted there as a best-case scenario for Colston Loveland is probably unlikely because even though he is a highly touted top 10 pick, it takes time for tight ends. And he has not had a real offseason program because of the shoulder. He is going to be fast-tracked as much as they possibly can, but he needs to put on some weight. He needs to adjust to the NFL game. I think expecting him to do all that in September would be crazy and be putting him in an unfair position, and it would hurt him to not have Cole Kmet around to also help mentor him, even if that's done indirectly, because I know Cole addressed that in his last press conference.
Sure, and look, I would put the percentages on Cole getting traded before the season at less than 1/10%. That would be my bet.
I was going to say 99.9% sure he is lining up starting week 1.
Now, if you want to let's dream up a scenario where Cole gets traded. Okay, the trade deadline is November 4th. That is week 9. The Bears play the Bengals that week. That's after the bye, so the Bears will be playing their 8th game. Bears lose that week. Bears fall to 2-6. Colston Loveland's gotten healthy. Colston Loveland's rolling. Ben Johnson just thinks that Cole doesn't fit in his offense. And at that point, a lost season, another one, they're looking towards the future, and somebody really wants Cole Kmet. Could he be traded at that point? This is a nightmare scenario, but that would be the first scenario that where anything like that could even be remotely possible in my mind.
Pretty remote because,
of course,
if Loveland's rolling, they're probably not 2-6.
Sure. Fair.
You know what I mean? So
Great.
It's just, I get why it's being talked about. We're here to tell you on this show that it's not happening.